with all the big calls on all the big races. Welcome back to another edition of the Racing Post flagship feature weekend show. This is What a Shout with myself, Dave Orton. Delighted to be back in the seat. Friday morning, somewhere in the capital, we do film. Whew, what a weekend it was last week. This time we're really concentrating on some big handicaps. Yes, it's the Ayr Gold Cup, and we popped down to Newbury as well for a stellar weekend there as well. The action keeps on going. Who's with me this morning, you ask? Well, Pat Cooney, it's a hat trick of appearances in the studio. Great to have you back down from Stoke, Pat. It shows the world is coming back to what we know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we just come off the back of a thrilling week last week. And as you say, if you like 25 runner handicaps, then you're in luck this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, to help us out with that, assistant betting editor of the Racing Post. You happy I've called you that, by the way? Sometimes it's just tipster, isn't it? He gets the right hump when he can say all that sort of stuff. But Graeme Rodway joins us. Your first What a Shout for a little while.
It is my first one for a little while. Great to see Pat here in person. I was starting to think that he just lived inside the TV box and I would just see him every Friday. But he's actually here. He's a real man and it's great to have him here.
Shall we go inside a TV box? We've got a great guest for you this week. Two big runners at Newbury. It's been some first season as well. Up in Yorkshire, Ed Bethell joins us from his base.
Hi, good morning. How is all right?
We're very, very well, Ed. It looks like the sun's shining up there. The ground's all right, isn't it? Now, we're going to do a standalone piece with Ed. Sometimes we intro it, we get all the stats up or whatever, but we feel he's got a lot to say. So we're going to go straight into the show as well. Listen, get your questions in for the panellists below. You can do that, of course, on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Facebook, of course, will be up on there. And anything Twitter is hashtag What a Shout with our sponsors, Bet365. Let's have a look. Exactly what we've got coming up for you then. Okay, hot topics. Yeah, we'll be whittling through these, getting away with G-Rod, Pat, myself, and of course Ed Bethell. And then we'll be looking at the big race previews. 6 beauties coming your way, including that massive field in the Ayr Gold Cup. Will it be high? Will it be low? Will it be down the middle? We'll let you know. The weekend winners, of course, they'll be at the end. Let's get into some hot topics for you then. Right, you know the drill by now, regular viewers. If you don't, we've got 6 hot topics for you this week, and the panellists will pick 3 each. Okay, let's go down them. Where are we going? First of all, well, it's got to be, if you don't mind, I'm going to take this one. Fickle fixtures. Whew, unbelievable scenes, isn't it? We were speaking just before we came on air with our editor, Tom Kerr, who's come back in the office off holiday, and we said, can you believe there's more racing in 2022? More Saturday racing, more Sunday racing. Before I get a word from the 2 gentlemen on the panel with me, I want to go to Ed Bethell about this. Lots has been said then about this, Ed, this week. We knew it was coming. ARC have puffed it up. Great to have more prize money, of course, on the Sunday series. But George McGrath has come out this week, talked about racing welfare. Staff will be up in arms about this. When are they going to have a day off? Where do you sit with this, Ed? Sunday racing, this Sunday series, it's been a big hit, of course. Lots of, carrots there for stable staff if they win these races. But there could now be, instead of 3 fixtures, could go up to 6. And they're even talking about increasing it to 6 meetings on a Saturday as well.
Yeah, I'm a bit baffled by it, to be honest with you. I think the Sunday series was a great initiative. Races that 0 to 85s and 0 to 80s were worth sort of 30 grand were great. But I don't think there needs to be any more of them on a Sunday. Why can't we just put them into the sort of normal fixture list during the week? Why can't we have better prize money during the week, which makes everything more competitive? Everyone needs a day off. And I was at Haydock on Sunday last week, and there was no one there. It was really, really quiet. We had a very, the horse ran well and the prize money was fantastic. And that's why I went. We targeted the race. But I try not to run my horses on a Sunday because I think that unless there's the right race and for good money, everyone needs a day off. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, of course, the headline, of course, of the Racing Post was, up in arms, stable staff, Ed. Let's just stick with you on this. A couple of trainers have come out, though, and say my staff really enjoy going on a Sunday. If the tracks provide a good lunch and a good dinner, and, of course, they take a spare, of course, there could be a carrot there.
I think Sunday daytime racing is fine. It's Sunday evening racing. What was the time was the last race at Haydock? Wasn't it 7 o'clock or 7:30? And that's just ridiculous. And then they've got to be up at 5 o'clock the next morning to work in the yard. And I think that everyone deserves to have a day off. And we're And it's a 5-day week at the end of the day for most office jobs, and they actually work 6 mornings a week, which is a tough thing for them anyway. And we've got to make our industry a more sustainable place for a working environment, for people to come and want to work in this environment and have a better way of life, because the work-life balance is tough. I mean, admittedly, I work 7 days a week, but I'm not bothered by it. But I don't expect my team of people who work with me to work 7 days a week like me.
Okay, all right, let's just get a final word from this down the panel. ITV obviously had a massive appetite, G, for Sunday racing when no one could go last year. We put all these great races on the Sunday, the Eclipse obviously being the highlight of that Sunday afternoon at Sandown. ITV are obviously pushing for more. The BHA is saying, let's give it back to the yards. Maybe they need to change the way that they're rotoring, for example. Where do you sit with this?
I think it's difficult because there's a lot of talk about getting more prize money into the sport, and obviously the way to do it really is to put on more racing. But of course, you've got to put on the racing at times when people can watch it. Now, people like watching racing on a Saturday afternoon because those 3 o'clock kickoffs, those football games that pretty much dominate the Saturday landscape, you can't watch them anywhere because they're blocked out. So there's a nice little gap there on a Sunday afternoon for people to sit down and watch the racing. Now, it's not the same on a Sunday afternoon. Of course, on a Sunday afternoon, there's a 2 o'clock game, a Premier League game, a 4 o'clock Premier League game that goes on till 6. So
you think we're competing, basically?
So you're competing against other sports, and they're trying to schedule the races around the football.
Ed?
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think then there should be a day off during the week for everybody. I'm all for all these initiatives to bring more money and more prize money into racing. I think it's fantastic, but I think there needs to be a period of time where during the week, one day off during the week. If a Tuesday, for example, was a dark day and there was no racing, is that going to be detrimental? At the end of the day, all we're doing is helping the bookmakers.
Yeah, we've got to be careful with the welfare, of course, and these people driving back late and everything. More racing, Pat. Even a bookmaker doesn't want it.
Yeah, do you know, we were saying earlier, weren't we? I haven't heard anybody in the industry say there's not enough racing. I just haven't heard it.
Okay.
And just because you go from 3 meetings to 6 meetings, that doesn't mean you take twice as much in the day as a bookmaker. What it just means is you take roughly about the same, because people just haven't got that money to stretch over the 6 meetings.
We could go on and on about this, couldn't we? Okay, so basically, G can see some pluses, of course, but welfare-wise, we're not sure about this. We still think that there's a bit of an issue there and needs to be looked at a little bit. But 2022 is going to be cram-packed, that's for sure. Okay, shall we get another hot topic up? Let's go. G, what do you fancy? Racing clues?
Racing clues or Altior? What do you want to go for?
Well, which one do you... I'll tell you what. All right then, Pat, you take the racing clues. We'll save the Altior line for last, shall we? Racing clues, 7 Group 1s last weekend, not including the stuff in France. First of all, the changing picture of the arc. We thought we had it all sussed.
Yep.
Snowfall, wonderful tonight, coming in on decent, soft ground for her. She's no longer, sadly, longer in training. Snowfall's beaten.
Yeah, Snowfall was beaten in her trial. That's not necessarily a disaster. Trev, remember her? She used to get beaten trials, and then she magically reappeared and won Arc de Triomphe. But it was desperately disappointing, wasn't it? At no point did you think, yeah, this will win the Arc. I find it hard to believe she'll win the Arc. She doesn't look progressive anymore, does she?
One person that wasn't surprised was Graeme Rodway, because I did a show with you on Saturday in the studio and you said she's not all that. You got loads of pelters for it. You were absolutely delighted. I know, we WhatsApped each other.
Yeah, it was great from a personal perspective because I took her on, but obviously from a racing perspective, you want to see superstars.
She given too much to do by Frankie, because he sort of threw Holly under the bus a little bit, didn't he? Some people said, by saying Holly didn't go quick enough.
Well, I thought she looked a bit flat, to be honest, Snowfall. I don't think that was her true form.
I think they've run her too much, and was this like a 16th start or something?
Well, let's be honest. The big aim is the Arc. That was the trial. Maybe she wasn't quite fully wound up. Some people were saying, well, not all the O'Brien horses were running well, though he still managed to win a Group 1 with St Mark's Basilica. I didn't realise, Dave, there that you were trying to be nice there. You were teeing me up with racing clues.
Happens every now and then.
To actually praise me for getting Snowfall wrong, and that very rarely happens.
Well, broken clocks and all that, G. It was right every now and then. Ed, what did you make of the weekend action? It was great to have this span of just top class racing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're taking away from Tiona, to be honest. They've always held that filly in high regard, and she clearly shown it there on Sunday in the Vamai. St Mark's Basilica was fantastic. That was a great horse race, and he's shown that he's probably the true champion. He's shown that he's a true champion, and beating some very good horses in Tarnawa, and that looked like a perfect prep for her in the for the Arc de Triomphe. Had she had a couple of extra furlongs, she'd have gone very, very close. But obviously, she went close enough. And then I thought Native Trail was imperious.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the vibes, as Ed will know, are very strong for this chat. I'm really glad he mentioned that. A couple of things then, Pat. We'll end the racing clues on that. Again, there was so much that we could go on. Glass Slippers, only third, but what a race she ran for the Ryans behind A Romantic Proposal. We saw the Moygler, of course, going to Discoveries for Jesse Aaron. How many more do you want? Tiona. Are we looking a bit of a gift horse then? She's very uncomplicated. If you remember, when they met in the Musadora, she was fancy to beat her. It's just too keen she's been.
Yeah, and sometimes these fillies make dramatic improvement, don't they? She goes there with a sporting chance, I feel. I just have reservations about the merit of the form. I get she's in good hands, she'll go well, but there's no denying Tanawa achieved more over the weekend than she did.
She's a new fav, is she?
She's the favourite now,
okay.
Yeah.
St Mark's Basilica versus Mishriff. Will we see it on Champions Day? Who wins?
I hope we see it on Champions Day. I couldn't be certain that we will, given the way that there's just so many races now and people can pick and choose where they want to go. But I think that on that track, it's going to be very, very close, because I think that Ascot track suits St Mark's Basilica more than it suits
a Revia horse, you mean?
Yeah, I think Mishriff's one of those horses. It takes him a few strides to hit his stride, and it's quite a short straight at Ascot.
You think he's the best horse in the world, though, don't you?
I'm convinced that Mishriff is the best horse in the world.
We'll leave it there then. There you go. You heard it here. He was right about Snowfall somehow. OK, all right. Let's get the final one then going down. And Altior. Altior retires at the age of 11, G.
Yep. Great horse, wasn't he? Fantastic. Great as a hurdler. Probably would have won champion hurdle had he gone hurdling. And then, of course, was absolutely unbeatable for a long time over fences. But for me, although he was a really top 2-mile chaser, he doesn't come up in the same level as the likes of Sprinter Sacra, of your Moscow Flyers, of Azertiupes. For me, he was always beaten up on significantly inferior opposition, and there also seemed to be, later in his career, a bit of a reluctance to go on and take the big boys over further. Now, early on in his career, and as he went on, Nicky Henderson kept saying, Altior's going to be a really superb horse over 2.5, 3 miles. And then he got beaten once over 2.5 miles when Surname absolutely handed it to him. And then we never saw him again over 2.5
Well, that was the one that got Nicky. That's the big regret he's got with the horse. I think he said to us this week.
And then we never, in his last couple of years, I was completely baffled. We had that period where he was taken out of the Tingle Creek because the ground had gone or something. Completely weird decision, in my opinion, because then, of course, the horse went and got injured, didn't turn up for the champion chase, despite Nicky Henderson saying running into Sandown, we'll just wait for Sandown because we don't have to worry about Sandown, it's all about Cheltenham. We never got to Cheltenham in the end. In the end, I just thought it was a career that fizzled out. I thought he could have been right up there with, the Desies and the Sprinter Sacras, but he never quite made it because towards the end of a career, he was wrapped up in cotton wool a little bit too much for my liking.
All right, let's give Ed a word on this. Altior then, seemingly Nicky was keen to come back for another 11 to 12-year-old season. Where did you sit with him? He was great, wasn't he?
Fantastic. I think he's one of the best we've probably ever seen. Well, it's definitely in my lifetime anyway, but then that's not very long. I thought he was fantastic. I think Mr. Henderson managed him beautifully, and I don't think anyone could have done any better with him. I know my great friend Toby Laws, rode him a lot in his career, and he was an absolute aeroplane.
Yeah, just look back at some of his races then on the Members Club section to see how good he was over a fence. Altior then, happy retirement, my friend. Right, we've got Ed Bethell with us then. Let's have a little look at exactly what's been going on in 2021 for Ed and find out how it all started, how it came about, etc. Let's get the graphic up in the screen now. Now, sometimes we're talking to these trainers, William Haggis, for example, and we can't fit all these horses on. But Ed, we got a feeling this won't be your last What a Shout, God willing, and we're going to build on this. But 3 horses right at the top, headed by Artistic Rifles, who was your group breakthrough, of course. Moss Gill, you inherited from your father, of course, and Fearby. We'll get to him amongst others as well. Now, Artistic Rifles trifles, making all in that Group 3 at Haydock. You weren't even there, man. You were at a wedding.
I know. I was absolutely gutted not to be there. My dad took great pleasure in telling everybody that I was made to go there by my girlfriend. But what a day. Fantastic day. Horses come out of it absolutely A1. He's back in work, and I might enter him for the Premier. I've entered him for the Premier Vittoria de Capua.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he's going to do some jet setting for you. He might even be going over to Meydan. I remember we covered that race at the Post, and there were a few murmurs about that. I think your dad said maybe Meydan might suit him.
Yeah, I think Meydan probably would suit him. He's a big galloping horse, and it's it can be a front runner's track, and you're obviously going to get the nice ground out there. He had the entry in Italy because his Italian owners like the idea, and he would come out highest on ratings in that Group 2. But I wouldn't be adverse to giving him a break now and aiming him for the 20th of January for either the Al Fahidi Fort or the Al Rashidiyah or something.
You know better than us. Trust me, there's no point in asking Rodway what they are.
With his main sort of aim being the Jebel Hatta in February.
Yeah,
but the race I'd love to work him back from next year is the Woodbine Mile.
Ah, there we go, of course. Woodbine this weekend, Frankie going over, of course. All right, so Ed, this is your first season as a trainer outright. It's fair to say you hit the ground running, didn't you? 6 runners from 13 in April. And you've been a punter's pal so far because throughout the season, your strike rate of around about 18%, and it's a £10 level stake profit as well. Some of the horses, they tend to get back too.
Yeah, not a punter myself, but I don't know. The horses are healthy. I've got a really nice team of people working with me, and we all are striving for the same goal. I set a couple of targets early on in the year, and that was to try and hit 200,000 in prize money and hit 20 winners. I've on 283,000 now and 20 winners, and just trying to win a few more races if I can. It's
gone rather well. No, Pat's got a question for you as well, because it was interesting that you took it in your own right, I think, Pat, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ed, I was just curious that with the most of the father and son combinations having the both names on the licence, you just opted for your own name on it. I think it's going ever so well for you. But was there any specific reason why it was just your good self?
So I think Dad just wanted to get rid of all the stress. Dad thought it was probably best if I went out on my own. He's done it for 46 years, set up a very good business up here, and I'm just a lucky beneficiary, really. But we toyed with the idea of going in partnership, but then we don't probably have enough horses to do that with. You know, at the end of the day, it's kind of it might just get confusing with the owners and everything, and at least everything's sort of directly sent towards me now, and you know, Dad's still there on the periphery and helping out hugely as he always has done.
Yeah, you got a feeling that Ed's going one way, don't you, at the moment? It's great to have him on. And gee, we like something running at Ayr this weekend. We're not going to spoil it. We're going to do the Firth of Clyde. And Ed had the second to it at Carlisle, didn't he? And we asked him about it earlier, and we got a feeling that might be rather well handicapped, haven't we?
Round acre, yeah.
Round acre. Yeah. That's it. Let's get a word from Ed then. The filly that was second to the Flying Machine at Carlisle, she got a mark of 71.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I was delighted. I thought she might have got nearly 80. But anyway, I'm not complaining now. She worked nicely on Wednesday. She will go to Leicester Monday if there's enough ease in the ground over 6. I think you'll see a better filly over 7. But I like her. I like her a lot. And I think that she has a good future.
Excellent. What a breath of fresh air then Ed is, and he's even given you one for next week. All right then, first your big race previews. It is the 2:15 Group 3 5 furlong burn up the straight at Newbury. Let's go to Pat quickly then. Small but select field.
Yeah, not much between them all on official ratings. You look at the first 5 in the market, and there's £2 between the lot of them.
Yeah.
Kadeem is favourite, based on his win the other day at Doncaster. We were all saying, he's back at 5 furlongs. I don't know if he's the 5 furlongs. Well, he looked every inch of 5 furlongs.
First ever run at 5, wasn't it?
That's right. So he won well enough. A couple of horses didn't run so well in the same race, but there was plenty of money around for him. So it was just more a case of anticipating cash for him. I'm not convinced about him myself. If I had to make a selection, it would be him because maybe he is a 5 furlong horse. But as I say, you could certainly leave at least 4 others in the race. It's a tricky old race for me.
Which way were you leaning?
I'm going to lean to Kadim just because there was the money for him last time. And on the face of it, it's an okay performance. And his overall CV makes me think he might just be the best in the race. But I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. Now, let it not be said that Dave Orton doesn't know how to curry favour, but I do quite like Moskill in this, Ed, your runner in this. He's been at some of the top sprint dances, and he's jigged away with the best of them, hasn't he? Batash, etc. Where do we go with this chap? He's got form with King's Lynn, who reopposes as well, and you're sticking on some headgear.
Yeah, put on blinkers this time. See if that brings out any improvement in him. He worked very fast in them last week. And I'm looking forward to it. Ground will be in his favour. He was drawn on the wrong side in the Nunthorpe, and I think ultimately, you could mark up Suways' performance there because she finished like a trainer. And I just thought, had we been where the pace was, we'd have had something to aim at, and it would have given us something more to, something to aim at, and we might have been a bit closer. If you go back to his form with Winter Power, he only got beat a length by that and gave it 3 lengths at the start, and we were giving it £8 or something ridiculous in that listed race, the City Walls. So, if he comes back to that kind of form, I think we've got a live shout. As Pat said, that there's only a couple of pounds between about 4 or 5 of them, and we go there dropping in class, whereas everything else is sort of going up in class.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this class drop as well. So it's Moskill for me, Cardem for Pat. Where are you looking? Are you a King's Lynn fan?
The cogs were just turning there because I did my column for the paper last night, and we had a good look at this race and got it down to King's Lynn and Moskill, who finished first and second at Haydock. And King's Lynn just fell over the line and beat Moskill by a neck, I think it was, off level weights. And they reopposed off level weights. But of course, King's Lynn hasn't run for 60-odd days, been off the track since
he got bogged down a bit by the ground, didn't he, there last time?
Newbury. He's a funny horse, isn't he?
He is a funny horse.
King's Lynn got loads of talent, but he is a funny horse. And
he's been busy.
He has been busy, and he seems to find loads of trouble all the time. I think the drop back to 5 furlongs really suit King's Lynn. The fact that Moskill had sort of more recent form kind of made me like him. But then I had a quick look at Ed's record with first-time blinkers. The first thing that hit me was, what's Ed like with first-time blinkers? And this is why the cogs are turning, because it was late last night. I'm thinking, am I getting these figures right? I don't want it to correct me, you see. But I think it's like 0 for 3 first-time blinkers and 3 for 7 in blinkers or something along that. So really good in blinkers, but we're still waiting for that first winner in first-time blinkers. So is this going to be the one, Ed?
Well, let's hope so.
He just told us it worked really fast in them. Of course he thinks it's going to be the one. There you go. Listen, so it's a double on Moskill. I'm putting you on him. King's Lynn, he's a thinker. Shall we go up to Ayr then? And it's what some people would call a consolation race, I suppose, for the Gold Cup. It's the Ayr Silver Cup. 189 runners prior to the 5-day decks were entered for the Ayr showpiece. These are the ones that didn't get in, if you like, Royal Scimitar being amongst them, but he's not the Fav.
No, the Fav is an unexposed 3-year-old Black Rod trained by Michael Dodds, and he just looks extremely progressive. He won very well at York last time out, and he's the type of horse that's going to, all being well, be competitive in these types of races going forward. We've put him in as favourite. He's only rated 91. He's lightly raced. His best days are in front of him. He's drawn in stall 10. We don't know if that's good, bad or ugly. But just looking at him as a horse, he merits being favourite because we're all sitting there thinking he'll probably be better than 91 in time to come. He's no gimme at the price, though, is he? We're all anticipating him being extremely popular. As you touched on, Royal Scimitar's going to be popular. He's around 10 at the moment. First-time blinkers, that could be interesting. I thought with Black Rod, he's the type of horse, if you're having a bet in the race, if you're having a fiver, you should have £4 on something and £1 on him just to get your money back. Play it that way. I thought Bickerstaff had some sort of a chance. He's a 3-year-old himself.
Same colours as the Fav.
Yeah, and he didn't have any luck in running last time out, but he was impressive in his run prior to that. It's trained by Carl Burke. He's drawn 17. Again, question mark the draw. I don't know, good or bad. I don't know. Black Rod, clearly the horse that's going places, but He's around about 4. He might go out to 5. It doesn't snap as the bargain of the century, that price, but he's certainly the horse to consider.
Well, he's drawn in 10. I'm hoping that next to him in 11 is the place to be for Boardman G. Tim Easterby, he's having a great year, isn't he? Of course, Nunthorpe winning trainer. Watch him back over 7.5 furlongs at Chester last time, and track he has won at. He just looks to me like this is going to be a handicap sprinter in the making. He'll do for me. Have you looked at the draw, etc., or are we just looking for where the pace is? What do punters do with this Ayr showpiece?
I had a quick look at the draw on Wednesday because someone asked me to do some stats on it, and to me there just looked nothing in it across the track. Now, of course, that dependent probably on different ground. Probably if it's really soft, there's one side or the other, but it's not going to be really soft, is it? It's going to be decent ground. So I think the draw might be a bit of a red herring this year. And I think it might come down to just where the pace is, or as I always say, it's not necessarily where the pace is, it's which side of the track runs the race more efficiently.
Yes.
It's not like the horses that blast off on one side, they go off too fast, the race ends up being run inefficiently on that side, more efficiently on this side will win.
So it wouldn't matter if you had a dear old Catchy in the race, a blazing frontliner, if he didn't go as fast as those.
You want to. If say you're in athletics, you want a pacemaker. You're trying to break a world record. You want him to set the right pace to break the world record. You don't want him to go a million miles an hour and break the race apart, because you're not going to break the world record like that.
So which side is going to go fastest?
Going back to what's going to win it, aren't we? Yeah. I've got a weird angle on this one. Now, there's a horse in this race called Tinto.
Yeah.
Who I know the owner of this horse. He's a good friend of mine, came to my wedding. And every year when it comes to Ayer's Western meeting, he texts me, and I literally only get 2 or 3 texts from him every year, and I always get one at the Ayr Western meeting. I haven't had one yet, so I'll be waiting for it to come.
Can't have been that good a wedding then if he's only...
But the one thing that he always says is, we're having a great time up at Ayr. Have you got any horses for us at Ayr, right? So
Is he Scottish?
No, he's not Scottish.
I was going to say, please don't do an accent.
He absolutely loves the Ayr Western meeting, right? And he owns this horse, Tinto.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to text him and ask him whether it's fancied or not. And if I did, he would just text me back what he always texts me, which is what a lot of people text in racing. Oh yes, we're very hopeful. We think he's got a very good chance. Fingers crossed. That doesn't tell you.
Preempting that, you think he's going to win this?
That doesn't tell you much. But this horse was rated 105 at his peak last year. I can't believe that knowing how much he loves this meeting, they won't have thought to themselves, let's try and get him in either the Gold Cup, the Silver Cup or the Bronze Cup, because you've got a choice of those 3. He's now down to a mark of 91. Very timely return to form last time at Ascot when he finished 3rd behind a horse called Popmaster, who is
Royal Scimitar in second.
Really strong fancies for the Gold Cup, and Royal Scimitar, who didn't get in this race, and I think he would have beaten Royal Scimitar for second had he not blown the start that day. Right, so I get the feeling this might be a little bit of a plot job. And the final piece of the jigsaw for me here is Paul Mulrennan is booked to ride. Right now, Paul Mulrennan has ridden more winners at Ayr than virtually everyone, bar Danny Tudhope and someone else in the last few seasons. Right, and he never rides for Amanda Perrott, like hardly ever. I think he's ridden for him 3 times in the last 5 seasons, Amanda Perrott and Paul Mulrennan. 2 of those finished seconds, right? But all time, Mulrennan's actually had 4 winners from 18 runners for Perrott, and a further 5 of those were placed. So 9 out of the 18 runners for Mulrennan and Perrott were placed. I just think it all adds up to a good run from Tinto. He's a massive prize each way. Get on.
That was a serious preview. It's like you've written it in the paper. You thinking bring back Keels?
All is forgiven. One thing I did think was significant, Amanda Perrott at Ayr, I mean, that's a long old journey.
He's got a point about Paul Mulrennan as well. Yeah. You're all now having a second look at Tinto. 250 at Newbury. Formerly an ARC trial. It is, of course, the Mile 3, Group 3. Tricky race because we've got a favourite here in Al Arzi, who at the start of the season, Shadwell and William Haggis thought would be their next sire in the making. It all went swimmingly, didn't it? Won at this track, of course, and then it's not gone so well since. He has been gelded, He's never run over this trip before. He's a shade of odds on, I think, maybe more than that. Pat's about to tell us. Where do you stand with the Fav?
I did like him as a horse, but I don't like him anymore.
Why? Because he looked like he wobbles about. He's been gelded. That's, that could well help him keep straight, couldn't it?
It could do, but he's now starting to be a bit disappointing, isn't he? You thought, this is a real Group 1 horse. This is going to go on and win Group 1s. And then he gets turned over by Sir Ron last time out, or at a tactical race. But I thought he had every chance to go and beat Sir Ron and didn't go and do it. He was obviously beaten in it by a pile driver, wasn't he, at Epsom?
That's the one where people started to think, hang on.
And he's starting to develop a bit of a disappointing profile. And I think at very, very short price is the type of horse you want to take on.
Okay, all right. So we'll find out what with in a second. Al Arzi, going to be a hot pot in Ackers and all sorts of things. People will just look at this and think he's been gelded. He's going to have his mind on the job. He's won it.
Yeah.
Is he going to drift or is he going to?
I think he's one of these favourites where if you're a bookmaker, you think we could just get him chinned. Disappointing, yeah. They've gilded him for a reason, yeah. Trip, who knows? He's got £9 in hand. You look at his rivals. You know, they're C-listers and he's a B-lister, so he should be winning. But every horse has a price, and I wouldn't want to be finding out at round about 8 to 11 if I was a punter.
Do you think Foxtails can make the step up, or?
Perhaps he could. Illarab's interesting, trained by William Haggis, stablemate as well. And that also falls into that's been disappointing as well section. That's got cheek pieces first time. All in all, I just think it's a messy race, and I wouldn't be backing this favourite at odds on. He can win, of course, but you could open your paper tomorrow, you'll find much better odds on favourites than him.
He was right with Point Lonsdale about this, you know. He's got a bit of whiff about this then. So who is going to beat the Fav?
I think Fox's Tails is the obvious one to beat him. He is obviously the improving 3-year-old in the race. And what a season Andrew Balding is having. What a season Oisin Murphy are having. This horse was so impressive when he won at Ascot. Really, really bolted up that day, and obviously took a big step forward last time out at Haydock. He got beaten in between, but that was on fast ground.
Yeah.
It's on the easy side again at Newbury.
I like this horse. He keeps finding, doesn't he? Trip might suit him.
I think he's at 115 on RPRs now. I think if he can get to 117, 118, that'd be good enough to beat Al Arzi, and that's every chance of that. He's only got to improve £3. He's only 3 years old.
Lots of people be screaming at the telly now, going, he's not tipping this again, is he? But Solid Stone's one of my favourite horses in training. I went after a show here on Saturday when he ran at Windsor on their final twilight meeting. I buzzed down there to get him, and he drifted out in the betting. They put first-time cheek pieces on him. He looked beaten all the way. He pulled it out the fire there over mile 2 in the Windsor Hill
He actually beat the horse that Fox's Tails beat at Haydock, Fancy Man, who then has gone on to win since.
Yes, and Harrovian won as well at the Doncaster meeting. The form looks good. And the key with Solid Stone is getting some dig underfoot. Watch back that. He might just be crying out for this trip. It's Solid Stone for me at a price. There you go then. It's tricky. Will Al Arzi or not? Let us know below. Let's go back up to Ayr then. As a group race, it's the Group 3 Firth of Clyde. 2-year-old fillies coming out over 6 furlongs. And Pat Jurlines is having some season, isn't he? You know, really putting it up to the big boys. 2-year-old winners all over the place. And here he brings the unbeaten Head Mistress.
Yeah, Head Mistress, and she's had 2 runs, 2 wins, and she won a listed race at the Curragh last time out. That's probably the best currency there is in the race. And on that basis, she's a worthy favourite, as you touched on. The trainer going extremely well. Gary Carroll coming over to ride. That's, you know, he's a fine rider as well. Lot to like about her chances. Of course, you know, there's no real collateral form to go on, but the time's there and the form looks solid. She's won listed, and this is now a Group 3, not a big jump. Who knows if stall 1's going to be a good draw for her by then? We'll have had the Ayr Silver Cup.
They tend to come down the middle in this.
They do, and there she is in stall 1 on the outside. I don't know. It's you know, would connections rather have been drawn elsewhere, maybe in the middle as they come down the centre? Don't know. Stall 1, not a reason to be against her, but the form book says she's the most likely winner of this race. But there's lots of fillies in this race, isn't there? They've just had either 1, 2 or 3 runs, and they seem to be progressing as well. But as of now, Head Mistress has got the best form in the book and would be the likely winner for me.
All right, then, Head Mistress for Pat. Obviously she's the one to beat, but the fact that she's in this race means that you can get prices about the rest. Typically, with 2-year-old fillies that are trying to get that elusive black type, whatever you think about that, that's what they go in search of. It means that we're going to have a mixed bag, but we might have one here, G, mightn't we? We talked to Ed Bethell about his horse that finished second at Carlisle in a novice race. Ed thought he was going to win that day, and he bumped into...
Hala Hala Afmani.
Yes, what does it mean?
I don't know. I just tried to work it out.
We've waited for you. I saw him. The cogs were going. He was on his phone. Google translated. You can't even work it out.
Someone seems to be saying like exciting.
And that's why you got excited about.
Hala Hala Afmani.
Well, let's hope we're screaming that tomorrow, because she did look like a monster. She is, of course, the sister to Hello Zane. She's a monster. Ed was there at Carlisle. So I saw this walking around thinking, hang on a minute. The money came for her. And it was in the final parts of the race where she really shone, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely Superb performance, and I only started looking at it yesterday, Dave, when you texted me and said, have you seen this Hala Athmani first time out at Carlisle? And I was
You got it right there, well done.
No, I haven't seen her. And I watched the race and I was like, whoa, that looks good. And then you think, oh, maybe those in behind aren't that good. So what I did was I just went back and I timed the last 3 furlongs, right? And I timed her uphill at Carlisle at 35 seconds 81 for the last 3 furlongs, which is quick for a juvenile at Carlisle, because Carlisle is the 4th or 5th stiffest 6 furlong track in Britain. It's one of the stiffest finishes in Britain. It's uphill all the way from the bottom of the straight to the top of the straight. So it's uphill all the way, and she's run it in like 12-second furlongs, less than that. She's only 2 years old. She's a filly. I think she's a Group 1 horse, Dave, on
That's
that.
what you said to me, absolutely. She's not going to be out at 3, is it? The only worry about this is a completely different test, and they see a lot, don't they? So it's basically a burn-up, and she's got to get cover.
She's facing horses who are more experienced. She's got a big field of more experienced horses, much stronger race.
Yeah.
She's going to need to be switched on up there.
Savvy, yeah.
She's going to have the natural ability to go with them. Is she going to be tough enough up there in her head to win it? But if she is, I think she will win.
Yeah, they're going slowly with her, but we spoke to the Ryan Stable about her. They love her. Hello, Humes, quite right. What price is she, Pat?
Well, she's around about 6 to 1 at the moment, and so. And the other factor as well, Kevin Stott, he could have stayed at Ayr. He could have gone to Newbury for gives a sub in the Mill Reef. It's just the reason why he's at Ayr and not down at Newbury.
Yeah, there you are. Absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Okay, Kevin Stott, is he there for Hala Athmani? Time for the showpiece of the weekend. It is the Ayr Gold Cup. 25 spread across the track. Where do you want to be? Let's get some help from the bookmaker, Pat Cooney. Where are we going to go? Interestingly, when the draw came out on Thursday, great ambassador, Ed Walker, Starman fame, in 1.
In 1, and second favourite, Comanche Falls, in 2.
Now, let me just stop you there, Pat, and I will jump in before the assistant betting editor of the Racing Post gets his cogs working again. I read in the excellent Kevin Morley's trend section for this race, and this is a big trend race, isn't it? You tick, you can knock them all out. That, amazingly, only one of the last 12 or something like that had been in either the highest or the lowest stalls. Now, that doesn't bode well, does it, statistically, for the top 2 in the market?
Statistically, no, but...
you're going to tell me they just win?
He does look a very decent horse. He's a very similar profile to last year's winner, Nahar, who had a luckless run in the Stewards' Cup, came out and won again. And he looks similar, doesn't he? He was unlucky in the Stewards' Cup, great ambassador. He was drawn, 7? And the first and second home were 25 and 23 or whatever. So he was the moral winner of the Stewards' Cup, and he's come out and won 2 races again since. Well handicapped. Again, as bookmakers, you see him coming though, don't you? He's been around about 9 to 2, 5 to 1 for a few weeks now. So he's no bargain. Can he be beaten? Well, of course he can from stall 1. There's other horses in the race that are very interesting, aren't they? I like Gulliver each way. I mean, he was second in the Stewards' Cup. Great Ambassador was third. He's 5 to 1. The winner, Comanche Falls, he's around about 9. Well, he was second. He's the type of horse that, when you look at the enhanced each way terms, if Gulliver was bang there with 50 yards to go, you wouldn't be at all surprised, would you? But there's so many interesting ones. Popmaster won last time out. And it's rare, isn't it? You win a race, and then next time you run your blinkered first time.
He's a stablemate, of course, a great ambassador.
Yeah, so that's interesting in the race. There has been money for Ostilio of Paul Midgley, who ran 4th in the Beverley Bullet.
That's gunpowder treason and plot stuff, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
A very well handicapped horse. But he is, oh man, he can front run, can't he?
He's got more bad days than good days, but there was a bit more about him last time out. So if you like a sexy outsider, maybe him. And then I just end up thinking it every time, Bielsa, but he's 25, so on your higher or lower side of the draw.
Yeah.
But Bielsa is the type of horse, he's just popular in races like these. I've jumped ship a couple of races ago, but I wouldn't be surprised. But you keep coming back to Great Ambassador as...
He just wins. You think he's a group horse?
But I'd rather be backing Gulliver each way at 16 plus.
Yeah, Gulliver could have a big say in this, G, couldn't he? Now, a few names there, and of course Bielsa. I seem to remember we both put this up in the race last year, and he ran an absolute stormer on the wrong side of the track, which tends to be what Bielsa does. And Oisin Murphy jumped aboard him in the Stewards' Cup, and he went down the middle, and they were all a bit perplexed by that because they weren't sure where they were going to go, and Oisin just thought, well, maybe I'll do it. It's fair to say they thought that was a throwaway run. Are you with him this year?
I'm not, although it wouldn't entirely surprise me if Hala Rahmani goes and loses, and then
Yes.
Kevin Stott wins.
Sod's
this
Law
race.
comes into it.
Kevin Stott wins this race on.
That's
BO.
why he's at Ayr, yeah.
That's why he's at Ayr.
Okay.
But I've seen that happen before. But let's hope that doesn't happen this time, Dave. I think that Great Ambassador is by far the most likely winner. Could be the group class sprinter in the race. Obviously won a listed race last time. Nahar obviously won last year. Almost went on to win group race this year. Camphor up group horses this race. I think Great Ambassador will be very difficult to beat. The only horse I could fancy a little bit against him is the mad one that you've thrown in, Ostilio.
Oh, well, you like him, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you see Paul Midgley and those colours,
Yes.
what I used to call the Orvar colours, being back for a big handicap, if you're not on him already, you start to fear the worst. And he has had a sprint winner at the track this week.
It might, it might not surprise you that I want to go for the mad one here, but I thought he did run well at Beverley. He finished off really nicely in that race, and I thought it was a decent run. All in all, I just couldn't bring myself to put him up because it's Ostilio, but I think Great Ambassador will win. He's too short for me, so Ostilio each way.
All right, I'm going to throw in a horse that finished close up to a Great Ambassador in that York listed sprint, 5,000 to 1. I don't see why he should be for King Power around about a 20. Is he 25 to 1?
He is indeed, yeah.
Yeah, all right, so you've got one who's really short and one against, and I bet they had their mind on this as well. So there you go, that's the Ayr Gold Cup. The Mad Professor, he likes Ostilio. 4 o'clock then at Newbury. Let's go to a 2-year-old sprint. It is, of course, the long-established 6 furlong duty-free Mill Reef. OK, Pat, let's come to you on this. There's going to be a hot pot in this, isn't there? Dropping back, of course, because Native Trail.
Yeah.
He looked like he was going to give him a race. He looked like he actually had the beating of him last time. Daban for the Gosdens. Comes back to 6. Is he going to be a hot pot?
Yeah, he has been well backed already. And when he won first time out as a 2-year-old, all the time guru said, that's your Royal Ascot winner. He clocked a really, really impressive time. So he was the hot ticket at Royal Ascot. That didn't work out. And then, of course, he ran last time out at Newmarket against Native Trail. And you're right, stop the clock at 6 furlongs and say what will happen next. You'll say, well, Dabab won the race. No, he didn't, because he didn't stay. Native Trail won it. We all know what he's gone and done since. So everybody's latched onto him. He's no bargain at his current price. He's been beaten twice from 3 races. So he's, as I say, he's the hot order in the race. On official ratings, he's behind Gubbas and Giza Sub. Gubbas, of course, won the big sales race here at Newbury. And I spoke to Richard Hannon before that race, and he was very confident. And he's run well in group races since, lobbing Giza Sub and Fearby. That's the Gimcrack form. I thought at prices you could make a plausible case out for Giza Sub. Second in the Gimcrack, I think that reads quite well.
Yeah, they thought he was a little bit unlucky that day at Orion Stable. Gives a sub. G, before we go to Ed, what did the cogs make of this one?
I thought it was a really good race, actually, because I think, obviously, Dabab chased home Native Trail and Massacala last time out, and Oshie Murphy absolutely loves Massacala.
You're a lover of
I
Massacala,
love
aren't you?
Massacala, and obviously Native Trail won the Group 1 next time, so that is probably the best piece of form, although on Racing Post ratings, Gubbas has got the strongest form, because, of course, he's got Group 1 form coming in from the Morney. And Fearby, of course, ran behind Armour at Goodwood, and he ran a really eye-catching race last time out at York when I backed him.
So did I.
Because I thought that the step up in trip would really bring about improvement. And he was powering home again over 6 furlongs. And I don't know, I just wonder if maybe the quick ground just got him there.
Well,
The ground might suit.
Do you know what? We've got to ask the perfect man. Let's go to Yorkshire then. Ed Bethell. Now, PJ McDonald has ridden over half of your winners. What did he get back and say after riding Fearby? Because it's fair to say the first furlong didn't go quite to plan.
Well, we were possibly a little bit more reserved, thinking that we might not stay the trip, but we know he does, and we'll probably ride a little bit more aggressively this time. He was a bit unlucky, I think. When he went for a gap, he got that closed in on him, and then he switched left and ran on really nice in the end. Now, would I have beaten Lascelles? Probably not, but I think we would have been second. There was plenty left in the locker, and I think good to soft ground, flat track like Newbury. We're drawn 10, which can be a good draw on easy ground at Newbury, and I'm excited about getting him there.
Yeah, OK, all right. Well, I'm not going to abandon him because I watch that back, guys, all you viewers out there on your members section, your replays. It's fair to say he covers a bit of ground for you, but I like the way he was coming back. He'll do for me. I think the Gimcrack form will shine. G?
Yeah, I thought it was a very difficult race. I think that Dabab is the most likely winner, but he's well found in the market, and the value might be with Gubbas.
All right, OK, there you go. That's the Mill Reef. It's a belter. Nap time then, thanks to Pat Cooney. We had a little bit of credibility with the naps because we all slagged you for going wherever it was. It was Lingfield, wasn't it, last week? And of course, your nap went in. Well done, Pat. What are you going to follow up with this week?
Off to Newmarket, the 205, a horse called Deputy. Charlie Fellows, Hayley Turner, they team up well, and they have a great deal of success. And this fella, he won last time out, albeit narrowly, but he only went up £2 for the win. And I thought he won with more in hand. That was a Class 5. This is a Class 4. That was on soft ground. The ground, there is some ease at Newmarket, but he'll be okay on good ground. I just thought £2 wouldn't be enough for his last win, and I can see him taking that jump from Class 5 to Class 4. So I'm going with the Deputy at Newmarket.
Okay, all right then, Deputy. G?
Yeah, mine is Fox's Towels in the Arc Trial. Was it the 250, I think, at Newbury? I'm quite keen to oppose Al Arzi. I think he's become a bit disappointing, and the fact that he's been gelded is kind of a telltale sign of that. And I think you're looking at Al Arzi, horse on the way down against Fox's Towels, horse on the way up.
All right, okay, and I've been told to say this excitedly because G thinks that Hala Hala Athmani. Is that all right?
Hala hala!
Hala Hala Athmani. I think that will get you the money this weekend in the Firth of Clyde. That's 305 at Ayr. She's a monster in the making. Well, that's all we've got time for on this weekend's What a Shout. What fun we have had. Ed Bethell, really good to have you on. It's been a great year, Ed. Something tells you it's just going to get better and better for you. All the best this weekend and beyond.
Thanks very much. Let's hope you're right, and let's hope it does get a bit better.
What a pleasure then to have Ed Bethell with us. Okay, Pat Cooney, it's been a hat trick, man. Thanks for coming down. Have you enjoyed it with the Mad Professor?
Yes, it's been character building.
Absolutely. Oh, that makes us think about the jump season ahead. Loads coming up. Pat, of course, is the Cambridgeshire next week. We can't wait to see you for that.
Yeah, looking forward to that, and a good support card as well. But if you like impossible handicaps, this is your time of the year right now, isn't it?
You love impossible handicaps. Ostilio for you, that's madness. I'm going to have to look at that plot. Have you found the winner of the Cambridgeshire yet?
Fingers crossed it's going to come to me, Dave. Yeah, the cogs are going, but they haven't quite reached a conclusion yet.
Okay, so much coming up then at Newmarket next weekend. We'll be back with you for that, do not worry. But this has been Ayr and Newbury. What a shout with myself, Dave Orton. Don't forget, of course, to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Don't forget to download the free must-have Racing Post app. If you haven't got it, why not? You can do it on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Please gamble responsibly this weekend. That's what it's all about. Still so much racing out there, isn't there? From myself, Dave Orton. Loads of sport out there. Enjoy it.